It's the Rod Graphing Show. I think I'm figuring this Spreaker thing out. The theme music faded out too fast. Live here on Spreaker, exclusive to Spreaker, not even broadcasting on iPadio. This should be number 5. Number 5, my golden ticket to... I don't even know what broadcasting on iHeartRadio means. I just saw it in the Spreaker app. Before I get to my subject matter, let me see something here. Oh, look at that. I'm finally able to use the sound effects, all 3 of them that Spreaker gives me. I can see I'm going to have to add some from my vast bank of sound clips that I have on my laptop. What's this one? School's out. At the girls' school. How about this one? I'll employ that every time I'm thinking about something deeply. All right. The minimum wage. Oh my God. It's been talked about quite a bit, especially on the Democrat side of the ticket. Bernie and Hillary have been going back and forth. Bernie wants 15. I just heard him again this morning on CNN. Bernie wants $15 an hour. Hillary's good with 12. Hillary wants to phase it in over time. It's too hard on businesses to have to go from the $10-11 an hour they're paying now all the way up to 15. Burger King workers, burger flippers. Go listen to my. I know I say this all the time. Go listen to my stuff on iPadio. I have a plan for my own life that involves 2 full-time jobs at 8 hours each. If I work a 16-hour day at $15 an hour per each job, it would really be like working an 8-hour job and making $30 an hour. That's my new life plan that I'm seriously thinking about implementing. But before I do that, I would much rather see our politicians do what I'm about to propose. Now, if the minimum wage is such a great idea, and I don't even know that it is. I know there are some out there who don't think there should even be a minimum wage. It should be a completely free, a completely free and open market. I guess in which case some businesses would get away with paying people $3 an hour. I mean, we all know that would happen, right? So there's a need for a minimum wage? Yeah, I guess so. Where does the minimum wage fall? Where should it be? What's a livable wage? Well, according to Bernie Sanders, it's $15 an hour. According to Hillary Clinton, it's 12. I don't know. I think it varies from region to region. Don't you think? I mean, if you go into New York City and you're making $11 an hour, you're probably not doing real well. If you come out here to the hinterlands of North Dakota, there are some places where you can make $11 an hour and you'll do okay for yourself. You won't get rich, but you'll do all right. Well, I've got a different proposal. If the minimum wage is such a great idea, and I think to some degree we have to have a minimum wage system in this country, or like I said, we'd be back to slave wages. We'd be back to paying people little or nothing, and people would take those jobs because people are desperate. I'm desperate. But here's the problem. Who does the minimum wage help the most? I said this in some of my phone casts on iPadio. The minimum wage helps those in the lower class. And a lot of our current tax laws help those in the upper class. And not just the tax laws. The fact that the wealthy have the ability to hire people to get them the best deal, whether it's tax-wise or whatever it might be. They have accountants. Once you have money, you can make money. I know that. I used to have money. So the wealthy are, I guess, for the most part, covered by our politicians, are they not? And the lower class are somewhat covered. There's programs there for them. Minimum wage is there for them. Let's just focus solely on the minimum wage. So if the minimum wage goes up to either 12 or 15, whatever it might be, when the minimum wage goes up, it's a wage increase for the lower class, and that's good for them. Gives them more income with which to live their lives. That's great. But as I've said in other podcasts, when the minimum wage goes up, I feel like I get a pay cut. The closer that minimum wage gets to what I'm making, by comparison, I feel like I'm making less. And that doesn't seem fair to me. It's all about fairness, right? People got to pay their fair share. The wealthy have to pay their fair share. And it's not fair for the lower class people to be working for slave wages, so we've got to give them a minimum wage. Lift them up. Let's lift people up. I'll just say at the outset right here, politicians lifting people up, I don't even know that I like that concept. I really don't. I prefer to lift myself up. I prefer to choose my destiny. I'm pretty confident that I can find my way through this life without being lifted by some politician. Now, clearing the field for me, getting out of my way, that's a whole different ballgame when it comes to politics and government. But staying focused solely on a minimum wage. Why don't we have a graduated minimum wage for every level? Wouldn't that make more sense? In other words, if you're a low-income, lower-class person and you get $15 an hour, which has been proposed in both New York and California and is going to happen, regardless of who gets elected president, that's going to happen. The United States is headed for a $15 an hour minimum wage across the land. It might take a while, but it'll get there. That will be the starting wage for people. When you go work at your local Dairy Queen, your local fast food joint, your convenience store, you're a kid, maybe you're 16, 17, 18 years old, still wet behind the ears, you're going to start out at $15 an hour. So where is my help? As a lower middle class guy, that doesn't help me at all. How about the people in the middle class? How about the people in the upper middle class? Bernie Sanders has talked a lot about the wage disparity and the fact that those of us in the middle class have not been lifted up in 30 to 40 years. We've remained stagnant. The figures bear it out. You can Google it and find it for yourself if you don't believe me or Bernie. I mean, support Bernie or not, he's right on this one. Those of us out here in the middle class, wherever we might fall in that middle class, have not had much in the way of wage increases over the past few years. Cost of living and everything considered, we've just kind of stagnated and sat here. And boy, I tell you what, I sure feel it. So I'm proposing a graduated minimum wage, depending on what class you fall in. What's wrong with that? If you're lower class, you get $15 an hour. If you fall into a certain bracket, I don't know, let the government figure out how to determine who we are. They're good enough at doing that when it comes to other things, right? Taxes, healthcare. Government classifies us in many different ways. So these high-paid politicians and government officials can figure out how to classify people socially so that our employers then have to pay us a minimum wage. That way I never fall below a certain amount. So $15 an hour is good for somebody on the bottom end of the ladder. And if I'm a good quarter of the way up this ladder, I think $25 an hour should be my minimum wage. And if you're, I don't know, say you're halfway up the ladder, you should be making at least 30. And if you're in that upper middle class area, 35, right? Never less than that. There should be a law. It should never be less than that. Because see, in my job, and I know in many other people's jobs, depending on how they're paid, sometimes they make less than that. Sometimes they make less than that. They don't make the same. I know you might have a job that pays you, I get $20 an hour, man. That's what I get. I go to work every day, get my container of coffee. I get my $20 an hour, I go home. 40 hours a week. That's me. I get that. But that's not everybody. And even at that, you're making $20 an hour. The high school kid next to you is making 15. He's making $5 an hour less than you. How long have you been at your job? Is that fair? I don't think so. I think when the minimum wage goes up, all wages go up. For the middle class, at least. I mean, we don't need to give those rich bastards any more than they've already got, right? Let them fend for themselves. They've got enough. But for us here in the middle class, minimum wage goes up $3. My wage goes up $3. That way we keep it fair for everyone. That way we're all lifted together, because after all, isn't that what I keep hearing both Bernie and Hillary talking about? They want to lift us all up. Not just the lower class, not just the evil rich people, all of us. What a Brilliant way to do it. Make it a law. Everything, the minimum wage is now the baseline for all wages across the United States. I know, you're probably saying, this sounds communist. This sounds like some kind of weird communist plan. Maybe, but for Christ's sake, we've got a avowed socialist running for president. How far away from that are we really in this country? As I've said before, American dream is dead anyway. I mean, for all intents and purposes, it's gone. Our politicians and government in general has pretty much eroded and washed away the American dream, what it used to be. I know there's a lot of you out there on the right. No, the American dream will never die. No, America's spirit. I heard you. America's been over for years. Come on, get with the program. Where you been? Wake up. We're in a different America now. America has evolved at light speed over the past 10 years, don't you think? So along with that evolution, let's evolve wages. See? Everybody's clapping for that idea. Thank you. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Follow me. I have the answers. Okay, there's my fifth phone cast. And I think it's a really good plan. I really do. It sure as hell beats me working 2 8-hour gigs to try and make, 22 or $30 an hour, depending on what the minimum wage is, right? You think I'm kidding? Think my tongue's in my cheek. I can't be serious. He's just trying to make a point. Yeah, I am trying to make a point. But at some point, I'm all in with this shit. Like I said, I'm tired of getting left behind. I'm tired of people on both ends of the spectrum getting some kind of hand. When I'm sitting out here starving to death. Not literally. I mean, if you looked at me, you'd be able to tell I'm not starving to death. I can't pay my bills. I struggle. Every week. I'm not alone. There's a lot of us out here are struggling every day. Trying to do the right thing. Trying to live the American dream. Trying to make a living. Take care of our kids, our families. I guess for some of us, pay child support. Alimony. That's part of life too nowadays. Yes, I know. I hear you. Well, maybe you need to think about getting a different job. Really? Let me tell you something. I look at the job service board almost at least once a week. Sometimes more than that. Oh, I'll take the opportunity if I see it. I'm not beyond lifting myself out of this mess if I can find it. That requires opportunity. And I'm fortunate because here, where I live, North Dakota, we've had people flocking here by the thousands to work for minimum wage, to work for that 10, 11, 12 bucks an hour. Because where they came from, they didn't have that opportunity. They had nothing. No job. And a lot of them chose to get off the system and actually work for a living. It's a viable alternative for them to travel hundreds, if not thousands of miles, some of them from Africa, to find opportunity. Those are the people that are living the American dream right now. People from Kenya, Somalia. God knows there's tons of countries. I get them in my taxi cab every weekend.